Hello everybody and welcome to K17 Reactions. I'm Jimmy and this is my oldest son Jacob.
That's my name. Thank you.
I'm getting old, what can I say? And today we're going to bring you another hit. I'm going to do one that Jacob's never heard before. We're going to listen to Gordon Lightfoot, The Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald, which this is based off of a true story.
Okay.
This was a shipwreck in Lake Superior in 1975, and Gordon Lightfoot actually wrote this song about 2 or 3 months after it actually happened. So if you like good storytelling songs, you'll really like this one. So let's do this.
The legend lives on from the Chippewa on down of the big lake they call Gitchagumi.
Like his voice.
The lake, it is said, never gives up her dead when the skies of November turn gloomy. With a load of iron ore, 26,000 tons more than the Edmund Fitzgerald weighed empty. That good ship and true was a bone to be chewed when the gales of November came early. The ship was the pride of the American side, coming back from some mill in Wisconsin. As the big freighters go, it was bigger than most, with a crew and good captain well seasoned, concluding some terms with a couple of steel firms when they left fully loaded for Cleveland. Then later that night when the ship's bell rang, could it be the north wind they'd been feeling?
Do a little pause here. What do you think so far?
I mean, he's got a good voice. The lyricism is actually an interesting. I mean, he keeps the first, when he takes his, he does his 2 lines. His first line is a middle and end rhyme, and then the next one just doesn't rhyme at all. And does the same thing the next 2 lines, and then they're on. So it's a good form of lyricism. I mean, if that's a word, I think that's a word.
That is.
Okay, lyricism.
That's a word. We're learning English too.
Yeah,
But yeah, I just love it because he's a great storyteller. You can listen to a lot of his songs, and a lot of them have that story feel to them. And like I said earlier, this one is actually based off of a true story. So he was apparently a big recreational fisherman and everything. Spent a lot of time himself out on the Great Lakes.
Oh, okay.
So, let's get back.
The wind in the wires made a tattletale sound, and the wave broke over the railing. And every man knew, as the captain did too, 'twas the witch of November come stealing. The dawn came late and the breakfast had to wait when the gales of November came slashing. When afternoon came, it was freezing rain in the face of a hurricane west wind.
The thing I really like about this is, I mean, he's such a good storyteller to me that, I mean, he paints such a perfect picture. It almost puts you there at the scene of what's happening. So.
I mean, he's very detailed with everything. I mean, he's detailed enough to where you can get that picture.
Yeah,
and you closed your eyes, you could see it.
And the interesting thing is, when he wrote this, like I said, he wrote it only a few months after. So there's a lot of details that actually weren't known to him when he wrote this. And I read somewhere where he was having an issue in writing this song because he was afraid he was going to be inaccurate because there was so much that wasn't known. And apparently one of his bandmates went up to him and just says, "Hey, just tell the story." And I think later on, many years later, when they actually found the wreckage, and they found that there was one part of the song that was a little bit off, he went and actually changed the words. So from that point, he didn't go back and rewrite the song with the new words in it, but from that point on, every time he performed this song up until his death, he would sing the new words to it.
Oh, okay.
So, all right, let's go back. That's a long song, too.
When supper time came, the old cook came on deck saying, "Fellas, it's too rough to feed you." At 7 p.m. a main hatchway caved in. He said, "Fellas, it's been good to know ya." The captain wired in, he had water coming in, and the good ship and crew was in peril. Later that night, when his lights went out of sight, came the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald.
I like this next line.
Does anyone know where the love of God goes when the waves turn the minutes to hours? The searchers all say they'd have made Whitefish Bay if they'd put 15 more miles behind her. They might have split up or they might have capsized. They may have broke deep and took water. And all that remains is the faces and the names of the wives and the sons and the daughters. Lake Huron rolls, Superior sings in the rooms of her ice water mansion. Old Michigan steams like a young man's dreams. The islands and bays are for sportsmen. And farther below, Lake Ontario takes in what Lake Erie can send her. And the iron boats go, as the mariners all know, with the gales of November remembered.
Guitar solo is really like, you know, like, so it's so calm. Like, you know, you get guitar solos in back, when were the songs?
1976.
Okay. Back in the 70s and 80s, especially, like, you know, with, you know, all the guitar solos that went on, especially with the electric guitar, like this one's just so very fluid and calm, rather than the one, like, you can appreciate this one. You can appreciate the others, but you can appreciate this one more because it's just kind of like, you know, it's not about, oh, the guitar solo back in those times. It's about, like, hey, here's a story and listen, but we're gonna throw in a guitar solo.
yeah, and I think I agree with what you're saying. You know, it stays at a more. It doesn't go into that really high, hard rock type of guitar solo. I think it stays at kind of a smooth level solo, and it complements what the story is about. You know, because there's a somber story with you had all these men getting killed, you know, being on this ship. So yeah, I think and the drums. I like the drums in between each of the verses. All right.
One thing that I did notice that he did, though, again, he changed up how his lyrics went. He went from that first line being a double rhyme to now every other and then this last section that he's just saying, it was a little bit of a mix of both. I mean, no, they're not full rhymes because he rhymed like her with remembered, like with a real soft pronunciation on ed. So it was actually kind of he changed it up pretty heavily just then.
Yeah, I need to do more reactions with you because I'm learning a lot just listening to what you're saying.
Well, 3 or 4 years of piano did teach me a little bit, and then just an appreciation for music alone. You just learn a lot. I mean, there's times when I'll listen to other music and I'm just like, oh, I just noticed that, like the way they,
Yeah, and me having watched so many reaction videos before I started trying to record these. Had to look down, almost thought I forgot to turn our mics on. But like some of the ones I enjoy listening to, Rob Squad reactions and Black Pegasus. I enjoy just seeing people, kind of like me. You have somewhat of a music background where I don't.
A little bit.
And so hearing these other people go through exactly what I'm going through and seeing how they did their early reactions, and then a year or 2 years later how they're doing reactions, they're picking up on the same type of things that you're talking about after that time, and I'm hoping I'll start picking up on some of that as well. So anyway, well, go ahead.
The more and more you listen to music, and then if you study music, even I took 1 year of music appreciation in high school, and then just playing the years after that, you just see, and then also taking that and sitting there and listening to music and listening to like some lower, I say lower, some other artists who are they're known but not as well known or whatever, do you know who the Do is?
No.
So the Do is this guy that he's on YouTube and whatnot. He does he'll go on to Omegle, or he used to go on Omegle. Omegle's no longer a thing now, but he goes on Omegle and he plays guitar and other things on there, just get reactions and whatnot. And but then sitting there and listening to him talk, because he's got perfect pitch, so he can hear something and immediately just sit there and play it.
Yeah, I've seen a few that can do that.
Yeah, being able to do, not necessarily have perfect, I don't have perfect pitch, but I can sit there and listen to something like, okay, like, they're doing, like, there's a instrument in that song that I'm realizing now than I didn't realize it when I was listening to it 5 years ago. And that's just from years of just listening to the same song. I mean, I listen to songs over and over.
You got that from me.
Until I'm like, oh, okay, like I know every single breath he's gonna take. So
yeah.
But it also helps you with the just knowing music and how, especially how it's written out and how it like how you play with it and turn it. If you want a certain thing, you can get a certain thing by doing this, that, and the third. But yeah.
Cool. Well, let's finish this thing up.
In a musty old hall in Detroit, they prayed in the Maritime Sailors Cathedral. The church bell chimed till it rang 29 times for each man on the Edmund Fitzgerald. The legend lives on from the Chippewa on down of the big lake they call Gitchagumi. Superior, they said, never gives up her dead when the gales of November come early.
Given the positive, did you notice how he rhymes 2 more words and one? They both had an L at the end of it, but one ended LD. And he still rhymed together because he goes real soft, saying that he, instead of Fitzgerald, he's Fitzgerald.
Fitzgerald.
Yeah. And a lot of artists do that. Especially a lot of rap artists, they'll sit there and they'll do that. They'll rhyme words that should not rhyme, and poetically, or I say poetically, but like you take 2 words and you put them next to each other and try to make them rhyme. They don't, but if you say them a certain way, they rhyme.
Yeah.
I think what was the other word? He's Fitzgerald, and in peril or something like that.
Yeah.
And in peril, and then Fitzgerald doesn't rhyme, but you just take you soften up because we're going to hear the Fitzgerald, but you say Fitzgerald,
and you got a perfect rhyme there. So, Alrighty, well, what'd you think of the song overall then? First listen to Gordon Lightfoot.
I mean, yeah, it was a good song. I mean, very slow, but I understood, especially since you told me that it's a story, and you really just have to pay attention to the words. And I mean, it's not super detailed, but it's detailed enough to kind of give you a picture of like how it was when that happened. Especially if this came out a month or 2 or 3 months after.
Yeah.
It gives you a picture of like this was the vibe in Detroit or Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
That one line though, that Lake Superior doesn't give up, it's dead.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of a hard line.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, that's one of my favorite lines out of the song. There.
Yeah.
Superior, it said, doesn't give up or dead.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
And that rhymes too. That's the half rhyme that I was talking about.
so, alrighty, well, that's the end of this reaction. Thank you for watching. I want to let y'all know before we go that no matter how life is or how hard things are, remember, there's always one out there, one friend who sticks closer than a brother. Until next time.